Hello everyone, Jeremy here, and today I want to show you the latest brick-based construction set that I picked up, and this is really cool because this is based on AMC's The Walking Dead television show, and this set is brought to us by McFarlane. McFarlane has a rich history when it comes to making action figures and different toys of really good quality, and the fact that they made a Walking Dead set, a few Walking Dead sets based on bricks, similar to like Lego or Mega Blocks, is just mind-blowing to me and awesome. So this particular set, as you can see, is Daryl with Chopper, and it comes with 154 pieces, and it works with other brands. Of course it does. Ages 12 and up, even though The Walking Dead is a very mature show, which ages 12 and up is probably not the recommended age to watch the show. But anyway, what we have here is really more kind of like a diorama. It's not a play set. It's just something that you can put together, put on display, and have people just look in wonderment of how awesome it is. So there's a couple of other sets that are out right now. In addition to this, there is the Prison Tower and Gate. That's the most expensive one. And then you have the Governor's Room, which is really cool. This particular set costs $20, $19.99, the Daryl with the Chopper, and the Governor's Room is about $30, and then the Prison I think is like $50 or $60. So before I show you the finished product, I'm going to open up the box and we can take a look at how all these bricks look. Alright, so inside of this box we have here, there's the instruction manual, which is not, as fancy as how a company like Lego would produce their instructions, but good enough. We've got the way that the set looks on the front cover, and these are the very basic instructions. Only 154 pieces, so it's not a whole lot going on, but here is a better look at the additional sets that you can get. That shows you from the back, just the Chopper, the Prison, and the Governor's Room, and there's also some figures that you can buy as well in blind bags. These are about $3.50 each, and you can pick whether you want a human or a walker because it's clearly labeled on the packaging. So you can get those and just add all of those to these additional sets here. So going back to this, you see that we have, there's a base plate here and some foliage, road signs. So it's pretty much exactly how you would see any other typical brick-based set. It's not a whole lot of pieces. Of course, a lot of it is going to be the Chopper, and this base plate is really going to serve as the landscape for the concrete that the Chopper is going to go on. But it's not a whole lot of pieces, but this is just a little look so you can see exactly what these bricks look like, and then see if you can actually tell that this is a brick-based system once everything is put together. So here we go. This is the finished product. Let me give you a 360-degree view of Daryl Dixon and his Chopper and the one zombie that comes with this set. One thing that you will notice is after everything is put together, this doesn't really look like a brick built set. You can kind of tell from this side because you can see the little studs on the opposite side, but when you look at it from any other angle, it looks like something that is just one solid piece. So now that we're going around here nice and slow, we're going to go in a little bit closer and show you some of the more intricate details. Let's start with the detail in the road. Now these are some really cool pieces because a lot of these have cracks in them and they're textured. You can actually feel the cracks in each of these tile pieces. And you're encouraged to sort of mix it up so that it doesn't look too uniform. You could do something like what I did here, and that's kind of letting each crack meet up with another to sort of make a pattern of cracks, like a linear line of cracks, but you really don't have to do that. You can mix it up however you want, and that kind of makes every individual set unique in its own way, depending on how you want to make it. I also like this yellow paint that's on these other tile pieces, and you do have to match all of those up, because when you match all those up, it really helps to create the illusion that you are on an actual road. So you have to keep those in order, but it's really nice that, these are not stickers. All of this is printed right on the brick, and you can feel it. You can feel the texture on each of these, and that's really something that we tend to not get a lot. Another thing that I like are the guardrails. The guardrails have a bit of a marbling effect to them, meaning that there's sort of like different colors going on that aren't completely mixed. We get a little bit of dark coloration in there, but at the same time, we also get sort of like a lighter color. And because we get that lighter color and those darker colors, it helps to make sort of like some shadows and highlight areas to really bring out the texture in this guardrail. It makes it look really worn and beat up and like it's seen some horrible things, because I'm sure it has. And much like the cracks in the road, you can feel these, you can feel the dents and the indentations in it. And it just makes everything a little more real. We also get a lot of these foliage pieces here, and they're all different. Some look a little more lively than others, a little bit more green. Some are really more brown. Some have a little sort of like this red, not sure what that is, like a weed or a flower or something like that, just coming off of them. And you are also encouraged to mix those up and bunch those up so that it can look as authentic as possible. Like there is some brush that's just overgrown and no one has paid attention to it because everyone's trying to save themselves from the zombies that's trying to kill them. And you can put that in whatever order that you want. And they all go into these little holes that are in these brown dirt tile pieces. So that's another unique aspect of it. And then I got this zombie here who has fallen over the guardrail. But it kind of works, because even though I didn't intend for him to do that, it just sort of works in this scene. And we're going to look at him a little bit more closely in a minute. But the last thing I want to focus on is this road sign. This Interstate 85 in Georgia. I live in Georgia and I drive on Interstate 85 going north and south all the time. So this is, it really means something to me. This sign has got bullet holes in it, like right in the sort of upper left-hand corner of the 8. And the paint is really worn on it. And much like the guardrail and much like the concrete, you can feel the different dents, and you can feel the weathering that the sign has gone through, and the metal piece that's attached to it is sort of bent and warped. And again, that really goes along well with the overall theme of this set, The Walking Dead. So that's just to look at some of the finer details that I really liked about this, to really drive home the fact that these sets are really more like dioramas and not like play sets at all. So let's take a closer look at the figures now. So this is the only zombie that we get in this set, and of course the zombie does not have a name, so we can call him whatever we want. We're going to just call him Ben. This is Ben the zombie, and he's very angry. You see that there is painted blood around his mouth. His clothes are ripped and tattered and shredded, and he's just genuinely very angry, and he wants to eat people. Now these figures are very, very small, because this is really more of like a diorama more than anything else. But one thing that is somewhat unique about these figures is that you still build them up. You can probably even notice, like, I have not put his head down far enough right there. And you can see the individual joints, like right there, right where his arm is connected there. These figures remind me a lot of the first wave of the Mega Bloks Call of Duty figures, in that they're not the easiest things to put together, even though they're pretty cool. You really have to make sure that that arm is in there, and that arm is in there as good as you can get it in order to make it look as authentic as possible. He does have a little bit of trouble standing up, but that's where this piece comes in, this clear piece here that's attached to this half circle bracket that's attached to his leg, and that's supposed to help him stand up on his own. And it works for the most part, but this is not the type of figure that you really want to be moving around a lot. You can just pose him in a certain position and just sort of leave him there. And as far as articulation goes, you can move the head pretty much 360 degrees, and then the arms as a whole, they move as well. You don't have any kind of wrist articulation, and the legs just kind of, they can move back and forth, and you can get some crazy poses with the legs, but you may not be able to get him to completely stand up on his own if you're going to get crazy with the legs. But I think it's a pretty decent detail considering how small these figures are, and it really makes me feel like if you want to get multiple figures, it's best to put them together in a scene, because that's how they're really going to stand out, as opposed to having them as individuals. Let's take a look at Daryl now. And here's Daryl Dixon, and as you may have noticed, Daryl Dixon has no type of painted detail on his face besides his skin color. You don't see his pupils, you don't see any eyelashes or eyebrows or anything like that. You get the basic molding of how he looks in the show and how he looks in real life. And I don't really mind him not having painted detail on his face, because again, these figures, they're so small, they really just remind me of tiny diorama figures, and that the main point that you are trying to get comes through the overall scene and not necessarily the individual figures. You look at them in the context of the scene and not just by themselves. When it comes to something like a Lego minifigure, for example, I will look at the minifigure standing alone, not how it looks in its environment, but just how does it look on its own. But these figures, I think, need to be a part of a bigger environment in order for them to really work. So he's permanently stuck in this position because he's supposed to just sit on his bike. So you can't make him go up or anything. His torso will just come off, and you can move his arms up and down depending on how high those handlebars are. And much like the zombie, you can turn his head left and right. And they also gave him a knife. It's not removable, but the knife is on his side. It's in there pretty good. It's pretty sturdy. And also the angel wings on his back, very nice detail. They did a good job of capturing who or what Daryl Dixon is like in the show and how he looks. Daryl's chopper is like the centerpiece of this set, because it really helps to drive everything else home. And this is a pretty cool bike, you know. I did have a couple of issues with it. For one, it's not the sturdiest thing in the world. I have it on here now, and the reason why it's on here is because there is a hole in the tire, and there is a studded piece right under there that this back tire can then go on. The crossbow just fell. The back tire can now go on. It can go on the hole like that, and that's how this stays up. Now there's a few pieces involved with making this bike. Like, for example, this is an individual piece, the little satchel here. This seat is an individual piece. The other satchel is an individual piece. You have to clip on the tires to the rim, and this little engine here is separate. But the thing that I hated the most about this bike was connecting this front part here that pretty much stops at the handlebars to the rest of the assembly. I didn't think it was too clear how you were supposed to do that, and it made me feel like I was going to break it. And it wasn't until I really got forceful with it. There's like a clip that you have to put into it, and then there's a hole at the bottom, and they don't necessarily match up. So you kind of have to use some elbow grease and a little bit of force to really get this thing in there. Now that it's in there, I'm going to leave it like that. Also, there were a couple of other pieces that I did not bother to put on the bike, and that is this little piece here and this piece here. The way that these were supposed to work is there's a little hole in the engine at the bottom, and this part was supposed to go inside of that engine and just sort of sit beneath there. But these are the flimsiest things in the world. These are just really, it's just plastic, thin plastic that's not cut in any specific way. So it's kind of difficult to get it inside of that hole and keep it there. It's not as simple as like a studded piece that just goes in easily. And to me, it was just a little bit too much of a hassle. And the engine piece itself is not in there very good, so it's kind of flimsy. And it really doesn't, I don't think it really adds much to it, so I can just leave that off. So I just wish that they did a little bit better with that. But the bike is still a pretty cool bike once you put it together and try not to get too frustrated with it. And as for Daryl, he's not studded in when he sits down, but when you build up the bike, you will see that it's easy enough for him to stay put when he's actually on the bike. So a few little minor gripes aside, when you get everything set up and you're just looking at it from afar, it looks pretty good. And of course, it would not be Daryl Dixon if you didn't get his trademark crossbow. I don't think you can really hold this thing in his hands all that well. You just set it on the back of the bike, but you do get the crossbow, and that's pretty good. So in conclusion, I really do like this set. I love the fact that it's more of a diorama piece than an actual play set. It really helps to drive home the maturity that is associated with The Walking Dead, and that it really helps to set up a new style of brick-based construction sets based around more mature licenses, and still giving us the ability to put together bricks the way that, you know, we love to do with Lego and Mega Bloks and other type of brands, but just making things just a little more mature, a little bit different. For $20, it could be considered just a tiny, maybe a little bit on the pricey side, but given the artistic value and the license behind it, I'm kind of okay with that. And I'm really looking forward to maybe checking out the Governor's Room. That's the one that I really, really want, because it has all those creepy heads in the canisters in the back. Oh, it just looks really, really cool. But yeah, if you can get some other figures and just add those figures to this scene, it will really help it stand out a lot more. And that's what I think you should do with these individual figures, like with blind bags, or kind of like the troop builder or army building sets they also have. That's like $15 for 5 figures. If you put them together in a type of diorama form like this, instead of having them just sit out on their own, you can make some really cool, compelling, and interesting scenes. And that's what I think these sets excel at. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later.